Thanks for joining me again as we look back at another great classic film. This is an Australian film from a period of revival for the industry. It played an important role in raising the international profile of Australian films and stars a number of important Australian actors. And perhaps most importantly, it tells the kind of story that appeals to all lovers of the cinema. It is The Picture Show Man from 1976. The film's story was adapted from the memoirs of Lyle Penn, who, as a youth, had accompanied his father on the road screening films. Penn sent producer Joan Long his unpublished manuscript, titled Penn's Pictures on Tour, the biography of an old-time showman, after he saw her promoting her Australian film history documentaries, The Pictures That Moved and The Passionate Industry. Long read the manuscript and suggested it be developed into a feature-length film, but declined a request to collaborate on a new draft. She eventually relented, taking up the writing in addition to her role as producer, and creating the part of Maurice Pop Pym with John Meillion in mind. The film's development was delayed because of Long's attachment to Caddy, where she was working alongside Anthony Buckley. Buckley suggested that she should direct, but Long, whose experience was in documentaries, felt that she didn't have the experience. Donald Crombie was considered as director but was unavailable due to commitments working on Anthony Buckley's The Irishman. So Long attached John Power as director on his first feature film. Power only made 2 features, the other being Father in 1990, with most of his work being in television. The film was co-funded by the Australian Film Commission, the New South Wales Government, the Women's Film Fund, private investors, and with the support from Premier Neville Wran. It was the first film to be developed and financed by the New South Wales Government since 40,000 Horsemen back in 1940, and the first film made by the New South Wales Film Commission. Casting Rod Taylor as Palmer was the idea of John Power. Joan Long thought that Taylor would be too expensive, but allowed Long to contact Taylor's agent, and subsequently Taylor agreed to appear. Taylor had made his start in Australian film back in 1954 in King of the Coral Sea, before making his way to the States to work in TV and a number of second-rate films, until his break came when he was cast in The Time Machine, and a few years later in Hitchcock's The Birds. By the time he returned to Australia for this film, he was an internationally renowned star. Taylor was cast as an American to add to the international appeal of the film, and because after so many years living in the States, Taylor had developed something of an American twang. Taylor said that he wanted to help the Australian film industry, had heard good recent local movies had been released, and wanted international audiences to see them. He knew his name would interest US distributors and increase the chance of a worldwide distribution. As Long had intended, John Meillion was cast as Maurice Pop Pym. She also wanted Drew Forsyth to play Pym's son Larry. Long had worked with Forsyth on Caddy, but when the production was delayed due to financing problems, Forsyth took other acting work and was unavailable. John Powers had worked with Harold Hopkins on Billy and Percy and cast him as Larry. Jackie Weaver was originally cast in the role of Lucy Lockhart, but was replaced by Sally Conybeare. Shooting ran for 7 weeks from October to December of 1976, with location shooting in and around Tamworth. The film was shot in many of the locations that Lyle Penn and his father had frequented while screening films around the New England Plains district. Set in the 1920s, the film uses footage from films of the period that were in the public domain at that time. No details of the films used are recorded in the credits except for On Our Selection. It also seems to have included footage from The Grand Duchess and The Waiter from 1926, excerpts from a Tom Mix Western, and an unknown film that seems to be set in India. Lyle Penn's original manuscript featured a sequence involving the jazz singer that highlights the impact that the transition to talkies had. However, footage from that film wasn't used due to budgetary restrictions and the cost of gaining copyright clearance. The country halls where a number of the picture show screenings occurred had a natural 1920s look about them, so they didn't need to be redressed. The film's principal photography was disrupted by bad weather, which affected its production shooting schedule. The film was nominated for 8 Australian Film Institute Awards, including Best Film, Best Screenplay, Best Supporting Actress and Best Actor. The film won 4 AFIs for Best Costume Design, Best Production Design, Best Original Music, and Best Supporting Actor for John Ewart. The film was a moderate success at the box office and was one of 50 Australian films selected for preservation as part of the National Film and Sound Archive's Australia's Cinema Collection Restoration Project. So lots of good reasons to watch this film. Some great location footage that takes you back to the heyday of The Picture Show Man. Great performances, in particular from John Meillion and John Ewart, and a great story that, as I said, will appeal to all film lovers. So, what I'd suggest you do is that you go to our website, find our virtual screenings page, find the link to this particular film, click on it and watch it. As always, we'd love to hear back from you, what you think about the film, and whether you'd recommend it from others also. And then we're back in the not too distant future for our next classic films review. Catch you next time.